Hello, this is the Contest Fantasy Footy Show where we put on the boxing gloves and risk our friendship over fake football on a weekly basis so you don't have to. I'm Jesse. I like redraft. I'm with K-Man. He's a dual hat winner. We're your hosts, and we like fantasy footy. If you couldn't tell, you can follow me on Twitter at Contest Fantasy, and you can follow K-Man on Twitter at K-Man_TC Fantasy. Nearly did that in one breath. K-Man, how you doing, mate? Good to see you.
Yeah, you too, man. Didn't get to see you at work today. How's your day?
Yeah, I know. Oh, so busy. Absolutely just like bonkers busy constantly, all day. I don't want to talk about it. How about you?
All right. I'll change the subject very quickly. Hey, It's February already. You know what that means?
What's that?
Apart from it just being, let's go with that. It's closer.
A month away. I love it.
Starting to get some intel. I don't know about your team, but I still don't have any certainty, do you? I'm still on a daily basis tinkering and changing and hearing news and
And then you go to change one player and then you can't afford the other player that you want to change into. So then you have to change out another player. And then soon enough, you realize, got to clear the team, start again, throw the whole lot out. Yeah. Have you got anyone locked in to your side yet? Like, is there any player locked in?
Yes, but I'm going to save it for a fight. I'm going to save it for the fight because I think it's, I think a lot of people are worried about it. I'm just like, no, if round already does 0, he does this. It's just, bam. Happy days.
I'm interested to know who you're talking about because you have been a cheeky bugger and you're not putting the names on the run sheet. You're keeping it a surprise. Yeah, so I don't know. For everyone wondering, I want the truth.
Well, I was at work today and I didn't want to have the run sheet up, so I just did it in a little document, so everyone didn't think I was planning for a pod. And then I just had no time to transfer it over. Yeah.
Look at you being all profesh. Oh, that's sweet. That's sweet.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to ask you. So Zero Hanger brought out an article this week, and they're talking about the stand rule, right? And by this week, I mean they dropped this article today, and it was Vams who was actually talking our ear off yesterday about the stand rule. But so among all the rule changes, they're affirming or they're strengthening their interpretation of the stand rule. And Vams was talking to us and he was wondering, what does this mean for fantasy scoring and for teams? But I'm just from a footy perspective, when the stand rule came in, the way it was supposed to be adjudicated was anyone, when a player takes a mark, anyone within that 5 meter protected radius has to stop, be still, freeze while that player makes their decision. And theoretically, that could potentially allow for a faster movement of play, get the game moving, and allow that player to some freedom. But then this happened. So, this is what Zero Hanger says. So they've said this season, players within 5 meters of a mark or a free kick when it is paid, in other words, inside the protected area, will have to immediately freeze and stand. So that's how it was supposed to be adjudicated. No longer can they back out, move outside the zone and guard space. And that is how it has been adjudicated. This annoying thing where just the guy on the mark kind of freezes, but sometimes he runs backwards and sometimes he's paid a free against. And then the article even mentions Collingwood, who made an art form out of doing this and loopholing the system. Expect a 50-meter penalty to flow. Expect 50-meter penalties to flow early in the season, and expect some more free-flowing footy as well. So, along with all these other rule changes, the AFL want to speed the game up. What do you reckon? What do you think the outcome of this? Are you excited for this, or are you dubious?
I'm nervously frustrated already. The two dot points that you just said. I don't mind the second dot point of it's going to fasten up the game, but hearing. There's going to be this influx in 50-meter penalties where teams are going to get penalized, which then equates to perhaps a shot on goal, having avenue to, hitting a target in forward 50 and having access to the goal square because one guy wiggled 5 centimeters on the mark. If they're going to go to that interpretation, and then you're going to have discrepancy from umpire to umpire, game to game. Are they going to work out this is ridiculous and then in a month's time they ease back because there's so many 50-meter penalties that it's destroying the entertainment value and the contest? That makes me nervous. And that's what I hate with these rule changes is there's got to be some degree of interpretation by a referee. And if we're going to go hard and fast with rule changes, you're going to see these 50-meter penalties flying willy-nilly, and that's what ruins the game.
It was kind of like
probably
last year.
Harsh.
Yeah. Well,
doesn't ruin the game, but the viewing spectacle of the game, for your team to lose a goal, and then you have odd occasions where there's a 50 and then a 50, and it turns into a bit of a circus for mine.
Was it early last year when they were going really hardcore on not 15? And there was some, and it was like kicks that were almost really obviously, clearly like 20 meters, were just not 15, play on. And then, as we've seen with the AFL, that just kind of loosened up over the year. So I feel like the reality is that I like the intentions, and I think that if the stand rule was consistently adjudicated in the way it was supposed to be, it probably would result in better flow eventually once everyone kind of calibrated to it. I feel like the problem with the AFL is that they don't allow things to calibrate. They don't give the players time to truly adjust. They don't give coaching staff time to really start changing the way they're coaching for players, and they don't give umpires time to remain consistent with those adjudications. And so at the first, like, to be fair, we, the general public, are our own worst enemies, right? Because we start crying and whinging at the first sign of change of a game. We get frustrated. And then I think the AFL kind of buckles to that. And I think we'd all be a lot happier sometimes if maybe we just gave it like 16 weeks, But I think you're right. I think what's going to happen is that, those interpretations are going to loosen and tighten and change and shift throughout the year. And then we'll end up with a schmozzle and then some kind of backtrack next year or something. But anyway, we'll see how we go. I had another question I wanted to ask you. And I want to ask you this because it's so topical in fantasy football at the moment. So it's the Sheasel-Rosé conundrum. I've just given it that name, by the way. That's
you said your title, the Sheasel and Rosé conundrum.
The Sheasel and Rosé conundrum. Jimmy Jams, get on it, mate. He actually said if we were recording at 7 p.m., he could jump on and produce for us. So we might have to explore some later recording options in the future. The Sheasel-Rosé conundrum. So we've talked about, like, Sheasel is the talk of fantasy at the moment because he's like this top of the line guy, but he's kind of in a unique position where there aren't many good options at forward, but there's still this argument that, well, you're kind of overpaying for him, and should we be doing that in starting sides? Rosie, I think you and I have generally been more on the same page with, where we still feel a little bit funny about spending that much for him when there are plenty of other options and we see him as being priced fairly. I was listening to the Weekend Wash Up this morning, the great podcast, check him out. But they were kind of suggesting that, like, well, you just don't need to worry about that, right? Because Sheasel's going to finish as a top 6 forward. Rosie's going to finish as a top 6 defender, knock on wood, assuming there's no injuries. So is it more important to just acknowledge that a lot of the competition has these guys in their teams? Go with the competition, go with the ownership. It's one less trade or 2 less trades potentially to make later, and it'll all kind of come out in the wash. Where do you see?
Probably 2 things come to mind. The first one is Sheasel is just that forward line. Him being top price, but we've seen the uniqueness of the forward line. So I think that's a nuance this year that makes that selection easier. Rosie, I'm still a bit unsure about, but what I'm thinking about with the Rosie is having that vanilla starting side of that premium with no buy, having high ownership. I think there's going to be enough discrepancy in my side with maybe some mid-prices, or hopefully I get my rookies right with my starting selection. So that's where I see, not pod for pod's sake, but I think the variance from squad to squad, I think that's where the advantage is, rather than not picking a Rosie for the sake of bringing in someone who's different. I think that's safety in numbers and having a vanilla starting lineup. And I talked about that during the week. Maybe last week, that for those selections, I don't mind going with the high percentage.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's where I've ended up. I've been playing around with structure a lot this last fortnight, and I think where I'm landing is everyone's got these guys in their team. I just don't want to risk missing out on something. And I just think with the caliber of player both these guys are, you're right. I think it was Tom Hales talked to us last year in our first season about exactly what you've just said, right? Like there's enough discrepancy between teams as a whole to kind of make up for any lacking pods or whatever. Before we get stuck into it, everyone, if you dig the content, remember to chuck follow, 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And on YouTube, remember, we've got a YouTube channel now. Hallelujah. Give us a like, share, sub, send it to your mates, all that good stuff. Help out the pod. Thank you so much. What's going on there? What are you doing with your hands?
Well, we've had Spotify and we haven't had Vision, and we always talk about these balloons happening. Well, now that we've got it, we can't get these balloons to work.
No one can see.
Can't
or the
get
thumbs
the
up.
the fireworks.
Can you do the thumbs up? Is that? We still haven't worked out what the trigger is, have we?
No.
Nothing. Ridiculous.
Just look like an idiot.
It's a conspiracy. You do. That's true. It's a conspiracy. Great show lineup today. It's the second installment of Fantasy Fights with the best drop that we have, where we battle out the mid-price player pool this time. We did underpriced premiums last week. We're bringing you mid-prices to help you decide who to field in round one of your fantasy season. But first, there are a few training notes and injuries, so we're going to go around the grounds and quickly update y'all and ourselves. Y'all. Got my American hat on today, so just being a bit American.
Oh, yeah, Super Bowl. When's that?
In February, but my team's not in it, so who cares?
Who cares?
My team is slowly imploding in the off season, so it's not even the off season. It's not even the off season. The season's not over, and we're imploding.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it. Brisbane Lions. Okay. Good. Sam Draper has a stress fracture to his foot. So
oh dear.
This is not good.
No.
For us. It's not good for us.
Well, the Lions, we bring in those injury-prone players and we sort them out with our climate and our medical staff and stress fracture.
Yep, that's right. So apparently he'll be ready to go maybe for round 2. I just hope they don't rush him back. Like, if he needs to take till round 5 to be confident, I am happy for him to do that. Will we really... I think we moved past him in fantasy, didn't we? As the preseason's developed, we've with that early bye, so many other players on bye. He's got a really tough run as well in terms of rucks. Like if he's the main ruck, he faces basically every nightmare ruckman in the first 5 or 6 rounds, I think.
Well, the
Had
problem
you moved
is,
on from him?
No, but I think we're all just relying on opening round. We've lost that free hit.
True.
We've lost that ability to go, hey, wait a minute, 85 to 90. With that flexibility, we've just lost that. Now with an injury cloud coming back in round 2, yeah, it's not great.
All right, other notes. Lachie Neale, dominant in his usual CBA's role. So there goes my theory about him getting less work. No, I'm kidding. I still think they'll probably rest him. I still think they'll probably rest him more than they have in the past. But the thing is, you remember Grand Final Day? Like Lachie Neale is so integral to Brisbane's midfield. And it's not that our midfielders can't produce without him, but the impact he had on Grand Final Day when he entered the field was just immense, wasn't it?
Yeah. He's just a class above. A player who just looks like he's got time. His ability to accelerate through stoppage is the reason why he's the player he is, and I think the position that the Lions are in and what he's done with that young midfield group. Yes, we're probably not as reliant, but you see it when we go to the Gabba, just the amount of time and space that he gets and the impact he has. So I'm stoked that he's killing it at the moment.
Agree. Will Ashcroft is the other main man in the midfield. Apparently, he's looking absolutely elite. I'm still fairly confident that Will Ashcroft, if you pick him, I'm struggling to pick him with that round 2 bye and him being priced over $1 million, but I still reckon he's going to have a great year, and I still can see a world where I don't see why he would be kept at 52% CBAs when he's so good. I just think it'll go up.
2 Norm Smiths. Two Norm Smiths at 50% with an aging Neale. You'd think he would get a bump, and maybe McCluggage a bit more on the wing. In saying that, McCluggage was All-Australian as well. But for Ashcroft to score and have that ceiling with 50% CBAs, imagine if he does get that 10 to 15 boost. He'd have to be an upgrade target.
Have to be. I reckon we're looking at 115s, 110 to 115 in that scenario. Zach Bailey with DPP playing a lot more mid-time. So that's a really interesting. Is this someone that we can look at in our forward line? I think the early buy, again, makes it a little bit complicated. I actually don't know exactly. Do you know how much he costs?
No, not off the top of my head. I'll have a quick squeeze. The thing about the Brisbane forward line, they share it. You rarely see forwards kick bags. You know, a Charlie Cameron with 2, Logan Morris with 2, Zach Bailey with 2, Rayner with 2. So, I mean, I'd still prefer him as a small forward, but you just never seem to get a consistent forward score from the lines.
He costs 876K. He's too expensive to start in your team. He's going to take up too much of a chunk of change, but it's a watch. I have a feeling he will do his regular 8 to 15% CBAs for the year when it's all done and dusted, and he's just getting reps in. Dane Zorko still in his half back role after a strong game across that line. He took some kick-ins as well. No surprise there. I don't think many of us are looking to start him. I'm hoping he's an upgrade target late in the year, although I'm anticipating maybe a more similar year to last year rather than the year before. He's still getting on in age, so could be slowing down there. Kitty Coleman played half back. All reports are pretty good. He's got to be a lock, right? I mean, come on.
Well, again, round 0, I've got an argument for at them. He's still in my side. I've still got him locked in.
Same.
I still have some key personnel in round 2, but I just think with the way he's structuring up in my defensive line compared to other coaches, I think it's a risk worth taking. But I'll talk about that later.
Darcy Wilmot also noted as being really, really good off of half back. Could be an interesting pod option. Again, this is from a Supercoach perspective rather than an AFL Fantasy perspective. I just think there's too many mouths off that half back line now to dive into Darcy Wilmot in a classic, but from a redraft perspective, I love. Oh, man. Good player. He has been my favorite player.
What a recruit. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. He's been my favorite player since I played touch for a couple of years at a local club, like just casuals, opens. But we had our team decided to make a shirt, and they were like, "What number do you want?" Number 44, baby. Darcy Wilmot. Beautiful. Darcy Fort played ruck. No surprise with Sam Draper missing. Josh Dunkley looked great. Jasper Fletcher, Tom Duday, Link McCarthy, Dan Annable not taking part. So they're all on the sideline. Sam Marshall had a wing roll. So he could be an interesting cash watch. Although, again, I don't actually know what Sam Marshall. Let me check. He's going to cost you $439. So he'd be that like nod. He'd be that Nathan O'Driscoll type pick from last year. I guess there's guys like Jai Cully who coaches are looking at who, I don't know, the more I think about Jai Cully, the more I'm wondering if it's a bit of fool's gold. Is there anyone else priced around there at the moment, really, in our midfield that we're looking at? In that 400 to 500K?
You got Brody there and thereabouts. There's a lot of question marks there.
Brody.
There was a player I was thinking about today. It just escapes me. I penciled them in just with my notes. I'll see if I can find it. But
I guess Harvey Langford as well. Like, is Harvey Langford? He's
been
more
a bit
expensive.
quiet.
He's 658.
He
Quiet
was
preseason.
Injured. Yeah, he was injured, and we haven't heard much since. So, again, just a few little concerns rather than validating a pick.
Saints. So this is the other team we want to go over, and then we'll move on to the fights. I'll smash through these. Mateus Philippou still looking awesome playing through midfield. He did move to half forward as well. I don't think we're expecting tons out of him, but if he can get 85s or something, then he's a phenomenal pick. I'm not worried about that one. TDK, another strong ruck game. He beat Marshall in the ruck contest, which probably no surprise there.
Especially with the new ruck rules. Jump.
Well,
his vertical leap.
Huge. Unreal. He's massive. How tall is he?
Yeah.
Be like 12 feet, I reckon. Probably as high as my ceilings.
Poor Roll Marshall. This guy's,
I really wish Romo had gotten to Geelong last year. Hey, wouldn't that be awesome?
I wonder how he's feeling right now. How would a player like that, who, there was heavy commentary that he was gone. Well, it was heading towards that way. And so, you're having conversations with the family. You're thinking about what's life going to look like in a team where there was relatively no ruck. Now to all of a sudden stay at that club and also have to co-ruck. And it looks like that player is going to get more CBA time.
Look, ever the professional Rowan Marshall is, the answer is not good, mate. Not good. That's the truth. All right, Jack Silvani looked good. He took some marks, found some space, won a great ball contest against Marshall in defence. Romo drifting forward, but I don't think any of us really want to go there. Max King running laps. Max Hall solid through the midfield. I just don't see that role holding, though. And it's an awkward price to pay for an unclear role. Say that. Okay. No. I think I just blew the mic out then. My bad. Okay, that'll be. This is why you didn't want to tell me. You wanted the reaction. For content, boo boo. Nas playing mid. That's what we want to hear. That's all I care about.
Anything on Sinclair?
No, nothing on Jacko. Nothing on Wacko Jacko. Although I have also saved, bookmarked on Twitter, the coaches panel episode on Jack Sinclair. Yeah. Number 19, most relevant. We're both high on Sinclair. Yep. I think I'm at a point where it's him or Rosie as at D1 for me. I had a point earlier in the preseason where I actually had them both in my team. I think that was in our way too early team reveals. But I just like I think we got to go one deeper in the midfield this year. So I like that structure better, but still in play. Okay. Should we fight?
Let's fight.
So before you do the drop, for everyone, again, if you haven't listened to our Fantasy Fights episodes, get
over that.
We got new listeners, we got to bring them up to scratch. Far out. If you haven't listened to our Fantasy Fights episodes before, I think these are probably the funnest episodes we do for us to record. We have a lot of fun with these. This is our version of the player and the line previews. Instead of just giving you a list of players that we think you should look at, which will probably be the same list of players that everyone else does, we thought it would be more fun instead for us to go head-to-head and debate two players at each line in their category. In this case, it's Midpricers. Oh, God, you're giving me more players, aren't you? Far out. You're always bending the rules, this guy.
He goes rogue.
You didn't do the Christmas quotes.
No, I didn't get that right.
The Christmas quotes. That's okay. So anyway, we just want to help you decide between a couple of players. So give us that drop, mate. This is our best drop. Shout out to Jimmy Jams.
Fight! Blimey.
That was some nice dead space there, wasn't it? There's always a little delay on Riverside between clicking play and then the drop actually happening. It's an art, isn't it? Well, look, mate, I kicked us off last time, so do we want to switcheroo? And do you want to kick off each round this time round? We're doing Harley Reid versus...
It's not a player. It's a club.
Oh, okay.
I'm going
what the hell is this?
What is this? No, this is great. This is great conversation. See, I had it as a rebuttal, but you have a Harley Reid, and I'm going to talk about the Hawthorn Football Club. I'm going to talk about the Hawthorn Football Club because the more I was delving into this space, the more there were little narratives across that midfield line. So I want to talk about Josh Ward, price of 75. Now, let's set the scene. There's no Warple and there's no Day. So there's no defensive accountability player, perhaps tie down, in and under, really tough footy player. And then we've got the Will Day, the distributor. So let's get it in their hands. Let's attack forward 50 with some run, carry, dash, interchange, transition. So Josh Ward, I was initially looking at price at 75. And I looked at the with and without. And without those players, I was surprised to see that he only, again, a smallish sample size, only averaged 79 points with both missing. So I thought, okay, well, if that's the case, then there's got to be a spread of points somewhere. So Cam McKenzie, priced at 62 with or without, jumps to 50% CBAs up around the 76 to 78 mark. Okay. And then I was digging a little bit further. Dylan Moore. Now, I know he's a forward, but this is where I'm trying to see, well, these points have to go somewhere. They absolutely have to go somewhere to fill these two players. Dylan Moore averages 98 points without the Warple and Day combination. And then we have a Jai Newcomb. I talked about him draft the other night, co-captain, priced at 86. If he's going to up the tackle numbers, and I'm mathematically and putting this puzzle together, thinking, well, if these two players are out, some players have to benefit from these fantasy points. And the issue was I couldn't land on one, but Cam McKenzie stood out as he seems to be the player that can most benefit. So if we're talking 62 and a half, without those players, 76 perhaps with a preseason under his belt, a bit more clarity about that role up around the 80-point mark of 20 points upside there and thereabouts. Now, there's another player I'm going to leave because I know you're going to talk about them later. But okay. I just thought it was worth that, although I was initially dissecting and analysing Josh Ward, that whole Hawthorn setup became quite intriguing with Cam McKenzie and Dylan Moore.
He's a good tackler, Josh Ward.
Yeah.
He's a pretty solid tackler. So is Cam McKenzie, though. Cam McKenzie, I guess, less experience at the AFL level, like had more like half a season last year. But they're both really good tacklers. So they kind of offer a bit of dynamism, I suppose, in the midfield. Do you see, if you had to put your money on one of them, do you have a gut feel as like which one would be the one to launch into this year?
Well, initially it was going to be Josh Ward. I thought, here we go.
Yeah.
This is his time. Highly touted young player. Again, now the opportunity arises, but just looking at the change in discrepancy in statistics, it was Cam McKenzie was the one. And if he's cheaper, and then that enables our money to be spent worthwhile elsewhere, it's not a bad pickup. I mean, the other players, I could have easily talked about a Wardlaw. You know we love Wardlaw. I could have talked about a Harvey Langford. I just thought with two of those players missing, there has to be opportunity at Hawthorn.
Yeah, there's got to be. Although, I think a player I'm later may soak up that opportunity. Okay, so we're talking about midfielders first. So my midfielder, as we said, is Harley Reid. So, and I wanted to pick Harley Reid because I'm not hot on him necessarily like some of the community is. That could be because I traded him in last year and he killed me. So there could be some recency bias here. But there is some stuff to see in his stats, and there's something outside his stats that I think is far more important as well. Okay, so last year he averaged 59% CBAs for 66 points on the year, but in his final 5 games, we all know this, we've heard this on the pods, but just for context, his final 5 games, excluding his injury game in round 20, he averaged 92 points off of 72% CBAs. So those CBAs really rose in the back end of the year, and that's kind of what we were looking for. Now, I can't remember if it was on, I think it was on the Weekend Wash Up that I talked about. You know, they were just talking about this idea of it's fitness, right? It was his fitness that was probably what was stopping him from being that midfielder all through the season. But there is another thing that was stopping him, and it's the lack of run with players. It's the lack of explosive players in that midfield. Whether they, and I mean a player that's literally just fast and maybe could be fast for long periods, or the lack of a player who could be explosive out of stoppage and kind of provide that run alongside him for some of those handball receives, those 1-2s. We've got the number 1 overall pick, Willem Dersma, coming in to the team. Now, I'm not going to stand here and say that Willem Dersma is the fastest kid on the block, but I want to read you something from his draft profile. Outside of the contest is where Dersma's athleticism shines. He's a true all-rounder, boasting power and a unique ability to glide across the turf effortlessly. He's always threatening with ball in hand, able to cut through traffic and take meters with dynamic movement. His balanced running power was another athletic trait displayed at the Combine, placing 6th in the 2-kilometer time trial and achieving a sub 3-second 20-meter sprint. This kid is fast when he needs to be. And I just wonder if Dersma could be that spark in combination with yet another preseason's worth of fitness for Harley Reid to kind of take that next step. Because he's already proven to us, like I could give you a big statistical argument, but I don't think I need to, because the proof is in the pudding. We've now seen that he can produce when he has those increased CBAs. He just needs fitness and a guy to run with him. And I think we could be seeing that this year.
Yeah, interesting. You run all those off. It's probably not even his physical capabilities that I'm concerned with. I actually think it's his mental game, his ability, or lack of ability to control his emotions during game. He just seems to be a guy that a coach will go, let's wind him up, because when he does, I'm not going to say he's a selfish player, but what I see is he's probably a bit rogue with what the team structure is supposed to be. Do we account for the 5 to 10 points he's going to lose for fantasy through his ill discipline and those type of things? So, yeah, I'm interested to see what his mental space is going to be coming back after last year, where he wanted to do a lot by himself. He obviously wanted to dominate contest. I thought the emotions got the best out of him at times. And I wonder if preseason there's been something in place to manage that.
So I've got a couple of thoughts there. And yeah, I agree with you. He needs to improve that mental clarity and that self-control. Last year, he averaged 3.2 free kicks against per game, which is horrendous. In 2024, he averaged one less, so he averaged 2.4. In
Still
juniors, though, still a lot. In juniors, he averaged 1.7, 1.7. He did have a spike year and then less than one per game as he was younger too. I wonder if there's two. I think there's two factors here, or I wonder if there's two factors here. One is wanting to prove it. He's a young kid, number 1 overall pick. He knows how talented he is. He's big. He's strong. I think there's probably an element of just wanting to prove himself and wanting to be like, I can hang with the best of him. But I think that in combination with probably frustration on his part of, I'm this big, strong, fast, capable guy in the midfield, and I'm surrounded by a midfield who can't go with me. I want us to be able to do this, and we can only do this. And I just wonder if having Devon Robinson, like assuming Dev Rob makes the team, having a proper defensive mid to kind of provide some protection. I wonder if having Willem Dersma, an explosive, fast player who can provide that run alongside Harley Reid, take some of the pressure off of him as well. I just wonder if those couple of components can maybe come together and help him have a better year. So look, I think he's a really brave starting pick, but he's definitely a guy I'm going to be watching over the first couple of rounds as well to see what he looks like. I actually want to watch West Coast games for a couple of weeks.
That's year. Cool. who have they got? Who have they got round 1?
Oh, geez, I'm not sure off the top of my head. Hang on. West Coast fixture. Sorry if you can hear my typing in the microphone. Okay, round 1 they have Gold Coast. Not the best, not the worst. Then they have North.
Yep.
Port, Sydney, Geelong. Not an easy fixture.
That's not an easy game. Yes. You'd be sending Took Miller. Who was second?
North.
Parker. I'd just be
Wardlaw, maybe.
I'd just be getting guys under his skin. Absolutely, I'd be targeting him now as a second-year player. And
if he can get through round 1 with no freeze against and a 90 and a score with a 90 with a 9 in front of it, I'll be happy. Okay, as usual, everyone, you just I forgot to go through the winners. I'll do it at the end. I forgot to go through the poll for who won last episode. Twitter decided. Yeah. Okay, well, track beat Trelaw, which is fair.
I bet the injury helped with it.
Yeah, I think we can put that one aside if I'm honest.
Well, I did say it was my main argument that if you're going to compare the longevity of body, bam.
Errol Goulden, though, absolutely smashed your Noah Anderson. Josh Dacos and Jack Sinclair, 45 votes. Closer than I would have expected. 58% Jack Sinclair, 42% Josh Dacos. So there are some people out there on the Josh Dacos train. Okay. Should we do round 2?
Yeah. Oh, do I
need the drop?
Yeah,
you got to do the drop. Come on.
I will say, as I said earlier, if you want to go back and listen to previous pods, we have talked about George Wardlaw at depth. So we're probably not going to rattle the same statistics. I just scared myself. You know how we got a new puppy? We got a new puppy, right? And anytime someone's doing mowing the lawn or, whippersnipper, he pulls that face that I just did.
So someone's going to crop that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need a producer, Jimmy Gems.
Yeah, Jimmy Gems, come on board, mate. Okay, so we've done midfielders. Next line up to debate is defenders. I'm arguing for Dan Houston, but you are arguing for
Kitty Coleman. 100%. He is
beautiful. Take it away.
He is still on my side. And again, we've done an episode on Kitty Coleman where we've rattled off statistics, history, obviously the injury, the season coming into finals against Collingwood. So I'm not going to rattle those off. What I will say is, firstly, getting these balance of early buys is obviously really important. So if you've got a Goulden, if you've got a Grundy, if you've got a Newman, you've got a Walsh, then this is going to be really difficult. And I guess my biggest advice is getting the premium balance right in the early season buys. However, if you have balanced those out, and the way I've been looking at team structures across X at the moment is a lot of people are playing two defensive rookies in that back line. At the way my team is at the moment, I structure Kitty Coleman as my D5. And my backing behind this is, well, at the moment, if the majority of the competition, the fantasy coaching competition, have 2 rookies at play, then during that round 2 bye, if, for example, Coleman pops out an 80 to 85 in opening round, I'm going to have a comparable rookie that I can play for that one round. If it makes best 18, great. If it doesn't, then I'm competing against other coaches with the rookie who may or may not make best 18 scores. And the key to that is obviously having those premiums across lines. If I've got a best 18 scenario where my Coleman is covered by a bench rookie comparable to a starting side rookie, then I think he's worth the risk to then bring him in and have him back for rounds 3, 4, and 5, where again, he is now comparable against starting side rookies. So that's my play.
So you said Coleman was your D5.
Yeah.
Have you got your team handy? I'd be interested to hear what your backline is.
Yep.
Because I've got Coleman currently as my D4, like Rosie, Kirch, Newman, Coleman, and then like Blackiston, Farrow, or whatever combination of cheap guys. Lindsay.
So at the moment, my backline is Rosie, Kirch, Newman, Bergman, Coleman, Blackiston.
Hold on. You've got the Berg.
Well, he may change, but if it gives me a Coleman compared to a comparable rookie, and again, it obviously impacts all my other lines as well. One less rookie on field.
Yeah.
It's something I'm playing with.
Gotcha.
But if I can find something better than Bergman, I'll obviously look for it.
Can't believe you've got the Berg.
Yeah, it
You're the biggest anti-burger.
Berg. Yeah.
I finally got that.
You finally got it? I wonder if anyone else got it, or am I the only one who gets it?
Oh, well, this is why we love you. Okay. Dan Houston, here we go. This is a hard sell, so I really hope you appreciate me. But I did this to myself. I chose it. Look,
you did.
It's only a hard sell, and I'm going to get this out of the way. The obvious flag with him is his fitness. That's the only reason I see it as a hard sell. I do not see it as a hard sell because of how he played last year, and I've said that all preseason. He's still returning to preseason. We wouldn't usually suggest picking a guy who's had that disrupted preseason. There's a lot to be afraid of here, but there's also a lot to like. So injury woes out of the way. Let's hope he gets back on track. He's only $701,000 for a guy who in the last 3 seasons has gone 92, 93, and 94 consecutively on average. He's coming off an average of 65. My argument has always been that this last year for Dan he was introduced to a new system, a new team. We've seen this before with players having down years, finding their feet in a new system. It's not unusual. It's something where you go, like, it's not that, there are plenty of players who swap teams and do great, but there are plenty of players who switch teams and they have a bit of a downturn. Collingwood need more pace, more youth in their midfield. I talked about this with Josh Dacos last week. And this argument this is why I chose Dan, because I think it kind of fits together. It locks together. I think the natural place for Josh Dacos in that Collingwood system is in the midfield with his brother. This leaves a wide open spot for Dan Houston off of halfback to do exactly what we know he was brought to the club to do, which is distribute the ball off of halfback, play aggressively, probably score a goal or two every few weeks as well when he does that amazing thing where he comes in, gets the handball receive and pumps it from outside 50. Look, it's not the cleanest pick in the world. Yes, he's coming off an average of 65, but that is nearly 30 points under what he's done for the last 3 seasons before that. If he's playing opening round, that is a great watch. If he looks good in opening round, then all I'm saying is that at $701,000, he is a more than worthy pod option pick in your backline, because I don't think many people are going to launch into Dan Houston regardless of what he does in opening round. It could be a Lockie Ash. It could be a Lockie Ash of last season.
Huge. Take explosion.
No, hold on. Let me be clear. I'm not saying it will be like, he's not going to average what Lockie Ash averaged, but I mean, like, it could be one of those things where he comes out, he looks awesome. Not many people jump on, but the ones who do get rewarded with, like, a 20, 85 plus for the season.
I tell you what was interesting, and it probably works in the favor of that pick, is we were nerding out with Vams during the week, and he put forward the message from the Collingwood press conference where they're talking about changing their game style in the back half, and they reference the Brisbane Lions. Now, we both know that the Brisbane Lions like to possess coming out of half back through the back line. They'll take their time to work out what's the best avenue to go through corridor, down the wing. That means more possessions and more plus sixes. So if they're going to transition to where they really control back half footy and then they transition, that could add points to a Dan Houston and your boy Dacos if he is actually half back. It's not a bad play, man.
Thank you for helping my argument.
Yeah.
Thank you for helping my argument. I really appreciate that. You can vote on Twitter for me, for my guy, Dan Houston.
He needs help. Yeah.
It's not cool, man.
It's not cool, man.
And once again, you're behind with the drop. Where's the drop? We got it, the fantasy.
Well, I thought you had something else. I thought you were going to
vote.
You were going to have something.
Fight.
Gee. So for those listeners out there, we're obviously going to adjust the volume, but this comes in like a anyway.
Loud and proud.
Forward line again, or are we going rucks? Which way do you want to go?
No, let's go forward line. Yeah.
Forward line, I've got a list because I've got some special mentions.
All right, let's go rucks.
Look, I'm going to special mention Max Hall because obviously that mature age rookie we brought in and a killer pick if he started him last year, K-Man style.
Pat yourself on the back, mate.
But towards the end of the year, he did start seeing CBA increase. I think they like him. I think they like his dynamic ability in congestion, and he did that really well. Forward of stoppage, outside attacking 50. So I'm just going to rattle off the way he finished the season. As DFS decides to rehaul.
Classic.
We're live here, people. Here we go. So to finish the season, Max Hall goes 88, 124, 73, 72, 79, 60, 74, 73, and 84.
Yep.
With an increase in time on ground and some centre bounce attendances that range from 18, 33, 10, 12, 32. Point being that I think he has some split in that midfield, and when he does, he can outscore that 66 priced at point. Is it enough to start him? Perhaps not, which is why it's just a mention. It's just a mention to see if we get any more validity through preseason. Josh Rochelle, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but that's a bit of intel now that there's been consistent match sim in the midfield. Is it placeholder? Is this real? But I thought I would just mention that. Dylan Moore, you talked about Dylan Moore, and the statistics earlier about when Warple and Day aren't playing, that we see that increase in average. Philippa, I'm not going to talk about because he's probably in every team at the moment and killing it. The one player I have was a value player last year. He did okay. Priced at 71 with no Libba and an injury to Trelaw, and no one is talking about smoking Joel Frazier. Bonds 2.0. If there is any, that was the call, wasn't it? That was the call. I haven't seen it.
You said take explosion to what I said.
Hey, that wasn't my call. I think it was last year. They were talking about this young kid. Plays like
they were, weren't they?
Yeah. I can't claim credit, but if injury provides opportunity, Trelaw injury, no Libba, he's not a bad player to bring into midfield rotation that scores heavily. Priced at 71, we saw what he did when he was playing in the midfield. It's that volatility that if things don't work, he seems to be the first one out. But I just thought I would mention it as someone different because you know how starved we are of the forward line at the moment. Keep an eye out.
Do you think he's ahead of someone like a Riley Sanders because of the archetype of player that he is, because he's a better like for someone else that might come out of there? Or do you think Riley Sanders maybe being more of a like for like with like an Adam Trelaw style of play? Like, I don't know. It's hard. They have so much depth at midfield at the Dogs that it's hard to figure out who would be the next guy up logically.
I think I'm surprised how big he is. Joel Frazier for a young fella is huge. So in terms of another bigger body in the midfield, Sanders is, you're right, maybe a bit more outside, handball receive, a bit of run, but it's just a smoky I'm keeping an eye on with Trelaw and Libba's injury.
Excuse me, sorry if you picked up that cough on the mic. Okay, my guy. Now, look, I haven't gone as interesting as you, I suppose, because everyone is talking about my guy. But I'm going with him because he's been my guy for 2 years.
Yeah, he has.
Classic. But I'm not going to share this in the screen because it'll take a bit of time. But I dug through the old Canva, and I found one of the first things that we put up on Twitter. And it was C-Mac in last year's preseason being a breakout candidate. And these were the stats that I provided. In 2024, between rounds 1 and 14, he averaged 15 disposals and 69 fantasy points. But from round 16 onwards to finish the season, he averaged 19 disposals and 88 fantasy points. So here's why I'm hugely bullish on him. I think I ranked him really aggressively in draft last year as like a top 15 guy. I was wrong, clearly. Very wrong.
Maybe you were just early.
This is the thing. I think the process was right. The reason he averaged better in the late half of the season wasn't because he started suddenly attending CBAs. He attended no CBAs for the entirety of the season. It's because Hawthorn were utilising him the way Geelong have been utilising Brian Myers in the last couple of years. He would play and roll in from that half-forward line. So even though he wasn't attending the centre bounces, he was pushing up to stoppage. He was providing some kind of some dynamism, I suppose. Am I using that word right? I mean it as like dynamic. He was dynamic through the midfield. I'm an English teacher. He's dynamic.
Sounds like a
through
transformer.
the midfield.
Dynamism. Transform.
What's the,
Autobots roll out.
that's the one. Yeah, Autobots roll out. You're editing this. It's got to be a sound drop, surely. Look, I don't think he's been training in the midfield this preseason. I think that's as a result of Will Day being out. Do I think that means he's going to replace Will Day in the midfield? I don't. I also don't think he's going to be getting 60% more or CBAs throughout the year or anything crazy like that. But if he has been training so consistently in the midfield, I think it stands to reason that he will spend some time in there, because I think Hawthorn will probably spread that around. I think it was Louis who was maybe saying on Pod this week, Hawthorn will probably spread that around a little bit in the midfield. If he gets like 15 to 30% somewhere in that window across the season, and combine that with that 2024 role, which is, I think, what suits him best. They clearly know that he's such a good player, that he offers such a different look for them when he's around the ball. Last year, he was injured. He was in and out. It was inconsistent. It was no good. But I think this year, barring injury, a few CBAs, not many, and he's got that sort of Brian Myers type role, I see no reason why he can't be an outstanding starting pick.
What do you think his role is in a midfield? It is like, what is his tackles numbers like? I'm trying to look at the moment, and is he going to be a defensive stoppage player? Is he going to be that Will Day distributor? Are they going to give him the ball? How do you see his role in that Hawthorn setup? And what's that going to be in terms of, is it conducive for fantasy scoring?
I think he's just such a he's such a dynamic player. I just think he's quick on his feet. He's dynamic. He can move the ball really well. I see him more as kind of like an outside sort of guy rather than an in and under. I don't think he's a defensive mid. He's not got a big enough body, I think, to really do that role justice. But again, I only see him doing like 10 to probably not even 30, probably 10 to 25% CBAs. Like, in my mind, he's not really a midfielder, quote unquote. And I don't think he will be a midfielder this season. Maybe he will, and maybe what they're talking about this preseason, he'll be a mainstay in that midfield. But I suspect not. And so I think really it will just be kind of like a Zach Bailey type thing. Like, that's sort of what I see. If he's going to be in the midfield, it'll be like Cozzy Pickett, Zach Bailey, just run that small forward or that medium-sized forward through the middle who can change the state of play a little bit, add some impact. But most of the time, I think he'll roll in from that forward line. We can see it in his stats. Like in 2024, he spent so much time in the kind of defensive and forward mid part of the ground. In 2025, he spent a lot more time in that forward mid and forward 50 as well. And so I just think if that can shift a little bit more back towards 2024, I think he could be really good.
It could increase his floor too. So looking at the scores from last year, a 55, 60, 52, if he's getting that midfield split, then we can see that increase. And then obviously an impact on that ceiling, because as you said, 2024, 84, 110, 118, 98, 97, 102, 90, 103. So if you can get to those splits and increase that floor and ceiling, then he's certainly the talk of the town at the moment.
Yeah, I think you bang on the money with that as well. I think it's going to be about his floor rather than about his ceiling. He's not going to put up 120s or anything, but could be fun. Ruck line. We didn't talk rucks last week because frankly, there were no really underpriced premium rucks.
Fight!
Thought I'd get in early.
He crushed it. Absolutely nailed it. All right. We're doing Jordan Sweet versus Kieran Briggs. Take it away, mate. What is your argument for Briggsy?
Look, Briggsy's in my team at the moment. And what I think it does do, it gives me capacity to give me depth elsewhere and get back to the 2023, 2024 of a 92 average. Last year, 2025, plagued by ankle injury, concussion as well. He just looked hampered in his lack of ability to get around ground from stoppage to stoppage. He was slow. But if he can get back to where he was with fitness for 2025, I mean, the guy averaged post by 100 in 2024, predominantly a solo ruck. Yes, he's probably going to be affected like many of those traditional ruckmen with the new rules. However, if I can take a 92 and that gets me a Rosie, a Sheasel, a Track, potentially a Gould and Caldwell, less rookies on field, I think it could be the value pick that enables me to solidify other areas of my team. Does it make me nervous? 100%. Makes me feel sick in the guts. But at the moment, no news is good news for mine, and I can use that value elsewhere.
I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. The only time Briggsy has made it into my team this preseason is when I'm forced to do it because I'm like, well, if I just put Briggsy here, then I can get this guy here. And I can't do it.
Yeah, it's scary. It goes against everything we've done for the last 4 years with that ruck line. Everyone said it. Don't muck around with your ruck line. You've got obvious choices. You've got so much obvious choices. It's going against the grain. And to put your confidence in a player like Briggsy with new ruck rules, everything screams don't do it. But at the moment, priced at 70, if he can give me 22 points upside, and as I said, enables me to make sure my forward line has confidence, depth in my back line. If I wanted to play a Coleman, for example, at a D5, if I've got less rookies on the field and more of those better quality rookies on my bench, I don't know, it does give me balance.
Thumbs up. You got the thumbs up. I don't know how you did it.
Oh, did I?
You got on your screen. You didn't
now
even
with
notice
the balloons after. No, I didn't see it.
Nah, can't do it. You look like a sim. Just look, I don't know. I know he had a concussion and there was, it was pretty severe and we assumed he had injury. Was there a ton of injury news about him last year or did we just kind of get the vibe that he was injured?
No, he definitely had the concussion and there was definitely a report about his ankle, but I think he then carried that afterwards, like we do as coaches. When we're back, when they come back after injury, you just assume they're right to go. But
they're right to go.
For soft tissue injuries, how can you? And you've gone through concussions yourself. The amount of toll it puts on your body, you can't come back to 100% fitness after that.
I would be surprised if most players who come back from concussion at the expected rate, like we always expect them to miss a game and then they're back the next game. I would be surprised if those players most of the time aren't still a little off, to be honest, just given my own experiences. Look, all right, the only other guy we could see kind of around this price bracket that we felt was kind of potentially worthy of consideration was Jordan Sweet. He's coming off a relatively strong couple of seasons of 82 and 81 respectively, so nothing to sniff at and definitely a guy you can look at as a mid to late round ruckman in draft. He put up a 132 against Meekie in round 19.
That's huge.
I think he did 119 the year before that as well. Like he's got a pretty good, he's got Meekie's number. He held his own with a 91. I'm actually more impressed by this. 91 against Riley O'Brien. So the guy who's considered to be one of, if not the hardest ruck matchup, he holds his own. The flag for me is in his disposal numbers. So he doesn't really get too involved around the ground. And that, in order to bolster his sort of fantasy floor, I suppose, I think he really needs to get more points in transition. So I'm just looking at a graph that was provided to us by Vams, and I think Vams chucked this up on Twitter as well. But his points from stoppage versus transition aren't great. So, I'll tell you who he is stronger than. He's stronger than Briggsy. He posts around 66 points per game from stoppage, where Briggsy last year anyway, during his injured year, posted 11 points less at about 55 points from stoppage. But both of them only post about 20 points from transition.
Yeah.
So he needs to work on that part of his game. His stoppage points are really good. He's up there with Max Gawn. He's up there with Tim English. He's a little bit behind, but close to Romo. He's up there with Meekie for his stoppage points. And I think he might even be, he's just like a fraction behind Meekie. So he's in good company, but he needs to take that next step with his game. He's 28 years old. Rucks take a little bit longer to kind of come of age, so to speak. I think he's at that point where he could take that next step. I think the final piece to this argument, this narrative, would be that Josh Carr is talking about a drastically different Port Adelaide system, likely a much more aggressive style of play. I can only imagine that they're going to require their big man in the middle of the field to be a little bit more dynamic and offer a little bit more in transition as well. I think they'll need someone in that space. So he's 82, 81. I think there's definitely an argument to be said for this is who he is. But I think there's a fair argument to be made that like I wouldn't be surprised if he did 95 this year. I'm not necessarily expecting it, but like if I looked back on the year and he averaged 95, I'd probably be like, yeah, I can see how that would happen.
Yeah, we've said the last couple of years, I think we've all had eyes on him, especially in draft, and he just hasn't had the continuity in his game. Also, Dante Vicentini had a really good report this week about his match sim, how he was really competitive, and maybe there is capacity for a dual ruck setup. So what that does to a suite. But even in, Briggsy as well, if there's a quick ball up, Briggsy's not getting to these stoppages. So GWS are going to have to rely on your Cadmans and other players as well. So I guess with these traditional contested ruckmen, it's going to be interesting to see how they go with the rule changes. I don't think anyone really, I guess we're just forecasting with stoppage numbers and an assumption of how less stoppages are going to reduce those. But they're both tough. They both have some risk. Likewise, if you pick a suite, you're going to be able to use that money elsewhere.
Look, I'll be honest. I don't think I'm going to go with either of these guys. Who knows? A few weeks' time, a few more training notes. Who knows what I'm going to do? But at this stage, I can't see myself mucking around with the ruck line. I just feel like any time in the past where I've tried to muck around with the ruck line, it's kind of bitten me. And I just feel like if I picked two expensive guys, they will probably be there and thereabouts. And the stress it will relieve from not having to think about the ruck line for the rest of the year will be enough. Everyone, that's kind of mostly it. We're going to chuck these polls up on Twitter probably the day after we post this episode. So this will drop on Tuesday. We'll chuck the polls up on Wednesday. Once you've had a listen, let us know who you think won at each line, which player you're more likely to start, or which host you like more. Could also determine your answer too. So that's fine as well. That's it. I think we're done. Check out our website for updated redraft rankings, although I haven't updated them for about a week. There's some good classic info provided by K-Man on there as well. You can tune in later this week for our final rankings episode. We're looking at the ruckman. Before we officially move into mock draft season, baby, we have some great guests coming up. Lots of content planned. Thanks for tuning in. See you later.